So I wanted to make this video for a very long time, and I thought this was the perfect time to make this video, just because of what happened in UFC 313. There were a lot of controversial decisions. I mean, obviously the Pereira versus Ankalaev fight. It's one of those fights that I thought wouldn't go to decision, but it did, and it was a controversial one. I thought it was a very close fight, and it just made me think about the judging criteria because although the judging criteria is actually pretty good. Like I like the damage based and the effective striking, the effective control type of things, right? Those it's a decent judging criteria, but I feel like the judges don't follow it, and I think the first thing we need to look at when we go into these type of judging situations, what is more important, striking or grappling? I think they're both equally important, but obviously, for example, let's just say if two fighters fight and one knocks down a guy, but one takes down the other fighter, like if one guy knocks it down with a strike, but the other fighter took him down, what is scored more? And in my opinion, I think the knockdown should be scored more. But let's review over the judging criteria because, well, why not? So, obviously, how scoring works is that the winner of a round gets 10 points, and the loser gets 9 points or fewer. So, for example, if the round is like a tie, it's even, it's a 10-10, and we barely see that happen. I don't think rounds, it's very rare. I don't think things only happened like one time that there was a 10-10, and that was like, I think 2018 or something. I don't remember. But even then, it's like we never see 10-10s, and we barely see 10-8s. Most of the time, if a fighter wins a round, it's usually a 10-9. Unless, there are cases where there's just a fighter who has a really dominant performance in that round. Like, the other guy is just, like, not landing anything and not really doing anything. And then the other guy's just destroying him. That is counted as a 10-8. And I haven't really seen a 10-7 anywhere. So, yeah, that's how the rounds are scored. Now, for the judging criteria, which I think is more important, it says right here that effective striking and effective grappling are the primary criteria. And then there's effective aggression and effective control are secondary criteria. And, well, obviously there's a hierarchy. So effective striking and effective grappling are the criteria they look at first. And if it's even on both sides, they then look at the aggression and control. And maybe before that, they also look at the number of strikes. If someone outstruck the other guy and they both hit hard, then of course the guy who struck more would win the round. But we don't always see that, and I think the first example, in my opinion, is the Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista fight. So we're gonna look at the official scorecards. This was a split decision. I'm using this fight because this is an example of what I want to talk about when it comes to effective grappling. This is what I'm talking about. I think effective grappling should be taken more into a factor, and this is one of the reasons why. Jose Aldo. So most of the judges gave Jose Aldo. I think all the judges gave Jose Aldo round 2, and one of the judges gave Jose Aldo round 3. Now round 1, I agree Mario Bautista won that. Rounds 2 and 3, I don't think so. I think Jose Aldo won round 3, and the reason why I say this is because Mario Bautista, even though he had more control time, it wasn't effective grappling, and since Jose Aldo had the better striking in that round, therefore, his striking was more effective. Mario Bautista's grappling wasn't effective enough to overturn Jose Aldo's striking efforts. Therefore, Jose Aldo wins round 3. And there's a lot of people who think that Jose Aldo should have won that fight, and I was one of these people. And the reason why is because Mario Bautista had... Let's look at the stats. Right? So, Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Right here, right? So let's just look at the. Uh, let me check. Yeah. So obviously, Jose Aldo, Jose Aldo, outstruck Mario Bautista not by total strikes but by significant strikes. He landed the better hits in that fight. And I don't know, does it say control time anywhere? I don't think it does. I don't think it matters anyway. But Mario Batista had more control time, but it wasn't effective grappling. Although, like, you could say it was clinching, and clinching is effective grappling. How is it effective clinching either? Because he's not really damaging the other guy. He's not advancing the position. He's not advancing the takedown. Mario Batista wasn't doing any of that. He was unable to take down Jose Aldo, and he just held him across the cage for control time. And that should be discouraged because that's not effective grappling. Literally, in the UFC judging criteria, it's effective grappling, not just grappling. The control is secondary criteria. If it's not effective grappling and the guy had effective striking, Jose Aldo wobbled Mario Batista in the round 3. And therefore, Jose Aldo should have won that round. He had the more damage. And he had better effective striking. I just think that Mario Batista did not deserve to win this fight. It was a close fight, though. But Mario Batista's grappling was not effective. And it wasn't significant control time either. He was just holding him against the cage, causing no damage. He was just stalling the fight. They had to separate him multiple times because there was no activity, there was no advancing of the position. And Mario Batista kept shooting for a takedown and doing the same exact thing. And it's a good strategy to win the fight because apparently the judging encourages that. But I think that's just wrong. That's not a fight. That's just holding someone up against the cage, and that's called winning the fight. That's not effective grappling. You're not advancing the position. You're not actually trying to take him down. You're just holding him against the cage. And you could say, oh, but it's clinching. Oh, he should be able to get out of the clinch. It's like, come on, dude. If you're saying you saying he was fighting, he was winning the fight from just holding him against the cage, then at this point, I don't know what the hell you want. At the end of the day, just because it's MMA doesn't mean it shouldn't be a fight. It's still a fight at the end of the day. And Jose Aldo landed the better hits, and he was defending the takedowns. So, therefore, he should have that edge in round 3 because he was the one who was doing better in that fight than Mario Batista. Mario Batista wasn't outstriking him. He wasn't damaging him as much either. And he wasn't able to take him down. He was losing the fight. But he still got the judges' nods because apparently control time without effective grappling matters more than effective striking. And then let's look at UFC 313 because that's another thing I want to use. Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev, right? So going into round 4, I had it 2-1 on Alex Pereira. I don't know why they gave round 3 to Alex Magomed Ankalaev. I thought it was a close round. I gave round 3 to Alex Pereira. Now, when we go into round 4, I'm going to show you a replay. I'm just going to show you a replay. Let's be real. Let's be fucking real. In my opinion, stalling someone against the cage, failing a bunch of takedowns, isn't effective grappling. And when you look at the other rounds, when you look at round 5, for example, right? Round 5, two of the judges gave it to Alex Pereira, which I agree. I think that he won round 5. He had the better hits. But then they start giving round 3 to Magomed Ankalaev, which just makes no sense. I think Alex Pereira did way better than Magomed Ankalaev. And the fact that Saudi Amato, which, let me go on a whole fucking rant about Saudi Amato. How the fuck is this guy a judge? How the fuck is this guy a judge? He messes up the cards all the time. 49-46 Ankalaev is the most bullshit thing I've ever seen from a decision. Because, yes, Ankalaev did well, but he did not do a 49-46. He did not win rounds 3 and 5. Let's be fucking for real. And Saudi Amato messes up cards like this all the fucking time. I mean, can we go back to UFC 307? Oh, wait, I don't think he was there. But Chris Lee is one of... Derek Clearly is one of those guys too as well. Not Chris Lee. Chris Lee's fine. But Derek Cleary is one of those guys as well that have shitty decisions. But Saudi Amato, horrible decision. I mean, okay, let's go. I don't have the scorecards, but let's go into the Randall Royval versus Tatsuro Taira fight, right? I feel like that was one of those examples where, honestly, Saudi Amato was the most retarded fucking judge in there. Because how the fuck you gave it to... How do you have Taira winning that fight? I thought that was a clear unanimous decision for Brandon Royval. Clear 48-47. So, yeah. But enough of the scorecards. Let's go back to the judging criteria. Now, the point I'm trying to make in this video is that the judging criteria should really look into the definition of effective grappling. There are effective grapplers out there. There's Islam, there's Khabib, there's Charles Oliveira, there's also like other fighters as well who have effective grappling. They're actively chasing for a finish. They're actively advancing positions. They're either securing a takedown or they're actively securing a takedown and not just stalling them against the cage. Like you could tell, like in some of these fights, like some people will just be going for a takedown and they go against the cage. I mean, clinch, right? And clinching is fine. I have nothing against clinching, but if you're clinching and not advancing the takedown or you're not advancing position or trying to land any damaging hits, it's like at this point, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just stalling the fight and you're just adding control time because the other fighter can't do much because he's just getting held against the cage. That shouldn't count. I think it should be discouraged. And I think if that happens, it should be separated. And if it's separated more than once, a point should be taken. No matter what. They need to enforce these fucking rules because you're encouraging fighters to fight like that. You're encouraging people like Merab or Bautista. Like Merab did this to Jose Aldo as well. He couldn't take down Jose Aldo at all. And you know, like Merab is a very effective grappler, but there were like that Jose Aldo fight was a clear example of ineffective grappling because he was not taking down Jose Aldo. And most of the strikes that Merab had on Jose Aldo were from the clinch. And they were just leg strikes. Like, he was just kneeing the leg. Like, that's fucking effective striking. How the fuck is that effective striking? Like, I know getting kneed in the leg hurts, man. But, like, dude, he's still there. It's not fucking knocking him out. It's not fucking advancing the position. You're just sitting there just adding on points. And it's like, that's not a fucking fight. That's not a fucking MMA fight. That's just literally cheating the system. It's like when Aljamain Sterling just goes on the ground and puts all three of his limbs on the ground, like his feet and his arms, right? So he doesn't get kneed on the ground, you know? I think that was a bullshit rule. I'm glad they changed that. But that was a bullshit rule. And it costed... I wouldn't say it was the only reason why Jan lost that title fight against Sterling the first time. I mean, obviously, Jan was being fucking retarded. Fucking kneeing Aljamain Sterling. Like, I don't know who the fuck does that. I don't know why Jan fans think that it was Aljamain's fault. Bro, Jan was the one who threw the knee. And believe me, getting kneed in the head like that hurts. It hurts. But also, it's like, they really, like, effective striking they get, right? The aggression and control, it's a secondary criteria. It shouldn't trump effective grappling. If it's ineffective grappling and the guy has the better striking, that should fucking matter. The guy with the better striking, with the effective striking, like Jose Aldo, should win that round over a guy who had ineffective grappling. Yes, he had control, but that's the secondary criteria. You didn't pass the first two. You didn't dismiss the first two criteria. Jose Aldo wobbled Mario Bautista in round 3, and he had the better strikes, and he was being the aggressive guy. He was walking him down, and he wobbled him. That's effective striking and effective aggression, if you want to count that too, apart from the clinch. Why the fuck is effective control the first one? Why the fuck you don't go from, oh, he didn't have effective grappling, but the guy had effective striking? Oh, no, give it to Mario Bautista because he had control time. That doesn't fucking count. That really doesn't fucking count, bro. I'm just mad because they're awarding a style of fighting where control time matters. Yes, control time matters, but you gotta be doing something with it. You gotta advance the position. You gotta at least land some damaging blows. Like, for example, I know a lot of people, with the let's go with Sterling versus Evliov, right? That fight was just a couple months ago, right? I thought Evliov won that fight. I didn't think Aljamain got robbed. You know why I didn't think Aljamain got robbed? Because Aljamain had more control time, but Evliov had better effective grappling. He was landing hits and having better ground and pound on Aljamain when he had control. And although Aljamain had maybe like a minute and a half more control time, Movsar Evliov had better effective grappling because he was advancing position and landing ground and pound. That's effective grappling. And since then, since he had that, he won the round. And he also had the last laugh. Aljamain was on his back and he was being controlled at the end of the round. Like, that's not a good look. That's definitely gonna sway things. So I didn't think Evliov got robbed in that fight. I thought he won rounds 2 and 3. And it made sense. I didn't think it was a robbery. But people will say, "Oh, Aljamain had more control time." Yes, he had more control time, but he didn't do shit. He didn't land any hits. He was just backpacking him, and he was failing to advance the position. Although he was controlling him, he wasn't able to get really a choke in, and he was kind of struggling to do that. Rounds 1, he was doing a lot better in that. I mean, yeah, rounds 1, he was doing a lot better in the effective grappling, taking him down multiple times and being on his back. That was effective grappling because Movsar didn't do anything in that fight. Round 2, Movsar was able to take him down and land some ground and pound. In round 3, Aljamain had more control time, but as Evliov landed the ground and pound, and because of that, and also that he also had a significant amount of control time as well, Evliov won that fight. It was a close fight, but Evliov deserved to win that because he had the better grappling. Control doesn't always mean better grappling. You can just sit on someone and for like 4 minutes. That doesn't mean effective grappling. That just means you're able to control them better. Effective grappling is advancing the position, landing some ground and pound, or at least getting a choke in. Like Charles Oliveira, when he gets on your back, he's actively, effectively grappling. So you got to realize that this judging criteria has got to change. And if it doesn't change, you're encouraging a fighting style that's not really entertaining. You're having more boring fights like Bilal Muhammad, like Movsar, like Aljamain Sterling. And I'm not saying I'm against the grappling. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I train that. I like grappling as much as I like striking. And I enjoy good scrambles. Like the Movsar versus Sterling fight was a good example of good scrambling. It's a good scrambling fight. Arman versus Gamrot. Arman versus Islam. So many others as well. Like, those are good examples of effective grappling scrambles when they're actively taking each other down or advancing positions. The one thing I don't like is ineffective grappling and just stalling for time. Like Mario Bautista versus Jose Aldo. Mario Bautista wasn't advancing position. He wasn't even able to take him down. He just sat there and held him against the cage. And I think that's unfair, encouraging that behavior, making him the winner of that fight. That's what I call robbery, because Jose Aldo did not deserve to lose that, because he effectively won rounds 2 and 3, and I will stand by that, and nothing will change my mind. So, I just wanted to go on this rant, but it's true. Judging's got to change, and if it doesn't change, you're encouraging a fighting style that's not entertaining, and I think this could be disastrous for the UFC. But that's just a take.